Hello, and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr, and we are about to review what happened last week, and then we are going to make our bets for this week. We are going to talk about every game against the spread, and then I'm going to give you my 5 best bets, and then I'm going to give you my lock of the week. When it comes to what happened last week, I need to give you the update of how I'm doing on the season and what happened last week. Last week we went 9-5 against the spread, and we went two out of 5 on our best bets. Unfortunately, that was a down week, but altogether on the season, we are 26 out of 45 on our best bets, slightly ahead of 50-50 there, and 84 and 68 in our bets against the spread, which is very positive. If you're following me, I think you're making money. I don't know. It's hard to calculate these types of things, but just don't go with my lock of the week. That's been a horrible choice. Don't listen to me on that. It has not worked out at all thus far. So let's go over what happened last week. We started the week with Cincinnati at Baltimore. We obeyed the rule, as we call it here. If the game is in prime time and divisional, you take the points. It's worked out very well for us. And this was a absolute boat race. Both teams were scoring at will until the final drive where Cincinnati came within a point of tying the game, but they decided to go for 2, which kind of locked me into a victory, and we really enjoyed that. Really great game. If you had the over, it hit. It was 34-35, and Baltimore won in the end. All right, moving on. I mentioned last week that this Sunday morning extremely early game was a tough call because both teams were so bad. I bet on the Giants and felt stupid about it the whole game. I don't think they covered for any portion of the game. And yeah, again, it's tough to predict that Carolina is going to win 2 in a row. But yeah, I should have taken the points. And these international games tend to be pretty bad. I think if the points are more than a field goal, you should very heavily consider taking them. And yeah, that's all there is to that. We were very wrong. The Giants lose this game 17-20. Carolina's getting points. They do not cover. Then we got San Francisco at Tampa Bay. We took Tampa Bay plus 5.5. This was a battle the whole time. San Francisco, I felt like they controlled most of the game, but they missed a couple of field goals, and it really kept the game very close. Tampa had a tie game going into the final couple of minutes there, and San Francisco drills a field goal to win 23-20. But that is not enough to cover. Tampa Bay wins when you consider the spread. That's a dub for your boy. Now, this is one I was really shocked by. Atlanta loses to New Orleans 17-20. We had Atlanta minus 3.5. Losing outright is pretty disappointing when you consider the disparity in quality in these teams. I think Atlanta should win this division, but maybe Tampa Bay will push them a bit. That's about it. New Orleans wins at home, 17-20. Sometimes it's hard to play in the Superdome. They get loud. It's a tough place. This is a tough spot potentially, but this is a disappointing result for Atlanta for sure. All right, moving on. We got Denver at Kansas City, and like the week before, I said Kansas City will win, but they will not cover. And again, they keep having such huge lines, and Kansas City can't cover. I wonder when Vegas will figure out that these lines need to not be so large. And I don't know, maybe people are just dumping money into KC and losing it every week. But I'm gladly taking the points and walking away victorious and feeling smart week by week. So Denver is lining up to kick a field goal that will win the game, but Kansas City blocks the field goal, wins, but Denver covers because they're only ahead by 2, and 8.5 points is enough to cover. Boom. Simple. We win that one. Buffalo versus Indy. Not a lot to say here. Buffalo wins 30-20. 4.5 points given up. Not enough to change the result. We win. Another game with some late heroics. Pittsburgh wins by a point. 28-27. With the extra points, they get some cushion on that cover. Good gambling by me. Apparently, I didn't watch this next game, Minnesota at Jacksonville. Apparently, it was really bad. I don't think Minnesota scored a touchdown. I think they won with 4 field goals. And they covered with 4 field goals, which is incredible. So Minnesota minus 4.5. I thought the spread should have been bigger, but turns out it was just right because Minnesota wins by 5, covers by a half point. You love to see it. Moving on, I didn't watch this game. Can't expand on this. Another game I didn't watch, but the result is really funny. And despite me getting it wrong, I'm willing to take this one, in stride. Just laugh at the result here. We got New England at Chicago. Chicago is at home, laying 6.5 points. They would score 3. When you consider the spread, Chicago scored negative 3.5 points. You cannot cover doing this. I don't know what to say here. That is an extremely embarrassing loss for Chicago. I don't know what else to say. That when you fail to cover by 22.5, I think that's right. Failed to cover by 22.5 points. That's not good. It's a saying from last year. If you score 3 points, you're not going to win a lot of football games like that. Chicago, that was super disappointing. Moving on. We got the Tennessee Titans at the LA Chargers. We bet on the Chargers minus 7.5. They would win by 10. That's money in the bank. Now, this was one that I hummed and hawed about a little bit last week. We have Philadelphia at Dallas. Turns out there was no reason to hum and haw. Philadelphia beat the brakes off Dallas. Dallas couldn't do anything right. The final score was 34-6. Cooper Rush, who I call Pooper Tush because he's ass, couldn't complete a pass to save his life. Offense, defense, special teams, Dallas was getting absolutely... They were under assault for 60 minutes. This is really bad news. Dallas was buying players at the deadline. They seem to not understand how bad they are. Mike McCarthy, he would be on the hot seat if it was any other franchise in the NFL, but for some reason, I don't think Jerry Jones can get value picking up coaches mid-season or even at all because they know what a shit show it is to work in Dallas. This is a truly, truly spectacular fall apart by this Dallas team. I thought they would make the playoffs this year, and they are absolutely imploding. Moving on. We got the Jets at Arizona. And I believe Arizona is actually leading the division, which is pretty crazy. They keep beating really bad teams. That's what you got to do to make the playoffs. That's what you got to do to win divisions. I took Arizona minus a half point, betting on the Jets being bad and Arizona being at least competent. And that sure as heck worked out. Jets scored 6. Arizona scores 31. The half point is irrelevant. The Jets get the brakes beaten off them again. I believe they are 1-3 since they fired their coach. Or something like that. 1-2. Either way, they aren't winning a lot. The new coach feels just as bad. It feels like the defense isn't playing very hard for him. Considering that's probably the greatest strength to the Jets. I don't know what they're going to do. Turns out they were not a quarterback away. And even if they were, Aaron Rodgers probably wasn't the quarterback. Either way, it's really tough out there in Jets land. Looking like they might have to do a full reset again. The Jets stay in the headlines, and never for good reasons. And then we have Sunday Night Football, which was pretty spectacular to watch. It was really painful as a guy who bet on Detroit minus 3.5. I'm sure a lot of people got sucked in by that one. And yeah, as you're watching the game, Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions. And, between defense and other players playing hard, Goff doing the right things when he wasn't throwing receptions to the other team, Detroit pulled their shit together and managed to win the game by 3. Unfortunately, that would not cover. You lose by the half point if you were a gambler and you bet on Detroit. But it was spectacular. How many 5 interception wins do you get to see as an NFL fan? I can't think of any personally off the top of my head. It's a pretty wild result. And like Houston, another kind of embarrassing loss for them on the season. I don't think that they are in danger of giving up the division, but they are sure putting together some ugly results in the midseason here. Hopefully they can get healthy and get right. And Monday Night Football, we had Miami visiting the Rams, and the Rams, they kind of got their butts kicked here. We bet on the Rams minus 2.5, but Miami came in and beat them 23-15. And I think the scoreline flatters the Rams a little bit. Miami really did come in and kick their butt, which is confusing because I thought Miami was bad, and I think the Rams are kind of up and down. I really can't get a solid feeling about the Rams. I want them to be more... I feel like I keep betting on them like they're more competent than they really are, and getting disappointed all the time. So let's move on. Let's make our predictions for the week. We're going to start out. We're taking the home team. It's Washington at Philadelphia. We're taking Philadelphia minus 3.5. We're not going to overthink it. This is a crucial game in the division here. And I don't think Philadelphia is going to give up the division lead at home to this Washington team. Now, they might. So, this is this Washington team is good. They don't seem to be afraid of anybody. They're playing. They're swagging. Not much more to say about that. This is going to be a good game. I really want to watch it start to finish. And I think I'll get to, so that's exciting. Moving on. We got the Rams visiting New England. New England's getting 4.5 points at home. This Rams team, I don't know what to think of them. I feel like they're kind of like constantly a bit too banged up at all the offensive positions, and their defense is not really stopping teams at the rate it needs to win. I'm going to take the home team with 4.5 points here, but because it's New England, I'm going to be holding my nose. That is not a good feeling betting on New England. But who knows? Taking points can be very helpful here. And I bet this is a scrap, at least until the third quarter. All right. Now we got Las Vegas at Miami. So the question is Miami on like a warpath to try to make the playoffs? If they are, beating Vegas at home is necessary. Taking 7.5 points is very tempting, but I will be taking Miami. Hopefully they can put together a performance on offense that can make Vegas, lose embarrassingly. All right, moving on. We got Green Bay at Chicago. Chicago's getting 6.5 points. So last week they gave 6.5. This week they're getting 6.5. That's a 13-point swing. But yeah, I still don't believe in Chicago. We're taking Green Bay. I was kind of high on Chicago. I thought that they were gonna get over 8.5 wins this year, but as time goes on, they appear to be kind of. You would hope they would get better as the year went on, but they appear to be getting worse. So I'll be betting on the well-coached team with a good quarterback, not the team that just got their head caved in by New England last week. All right. Then we got Jacksonville at Detroit. Detroit's giving up 12.5 points. Jacksonville's just been atrocious this year. It's 12.5 is a lot. When you get these wrong, they take away your sharp approved card. But I will, again, I'll be picking Detroit. They're at home. Jacksonville, they can't get much going this year. This might be where Doug Peterson loses his job. I think if Detroit covers, there's a good chance Doug Peterson gets fired. So, for whatever reason, I think that's funny. Sometimes I bet on what I think will be the funniest outcome, and it often happens in the NFL. It's great. So, I'm going to move on. We got Cleveland and New Orleans. New Orleans giving up a half point in the Dome. They just beat Atlanta in the Dome. Cleveland is really struggling. New Orleans is really banged up. This is one where I feel like I want to just flip a coin, but I'll take the home team. I don't know what's differentiating these two teams at this point, so like I said, I'll just take the home team and pretend, because it's a half point, that's basically a pick'em. There's no more pick'ems in NFL betting. I haven't seen one all year. I don't think I've seen one in a few years. So half points is as close as you're going to get. We'll take the home team. All right, now we got Minnesota at Tennessee. Minnesota was pretty rough to watch their last two outings. But so is Tennessee. Tennessee is pretty bad. Are they going to be able to hang on at home, make things happen? I think not. I think Minnesota is going to put them in the blender. Minnesota minus 6.5. Now here's a really spicy line. Baltimore minus 3.5 at Pittsburgh. I'll be taking Pittsburgh getting points. That has been extremely effective for many years. Pittsburgh at home as a dog. I love betting on Baltimore, but this Pittsburgh team is a dog, and Baltimore has trouble, beating and covering against Pittsburgh, even when they're playing out of their minds like they are currently. If I'm wrong about this, I'm not going to be too upset, but, that is what it is. And another line that I'm going to have a lot of trouble making a decision, lots of humming and hawing. We got Indy at the Jets. Both these teams are playing pretty bad. Jets have to give up 3.5 points. And I really don't think the Jets should be giving up 3.5 points to just about anyone at this point. So I'll be taking Indy, but I'm really holding my nose because from what I understand, Anthony Richardson is back as a starter for the rest of the year because they've seen enough from Flack Magic. That might be the end of Joe Flacco in the NFL, and that makes me very sad. But yeah, at the end of the day, I will be betting on the Colts and hoping that Richardson doesn't throw a bunch of boneheaded picks or that the Jets suddenly find their footing. But it would be very Jetsy to win a meaningless game in the middle of the season to hurt their draft prospects. Either way, I think the points are the way to go with this one. Then we got Seattle at San Francisco. San Francisco is giving up 6.5 points. This is really tough. This is a big spread. But from what I remember, from way back in time, the last time Seattle played, remember last week was their bye. They were not good enough at stopping the run, and San Francisco's going to be able to run the ball. They played each other not long ago, I believe, early October, and there were multiple players on the 49ers who could run the ball and get what they needed against Seattle. From Debo to Mason to Isaac Guerrero. So yeah, I'm going to be taking San Francisco. Again, anyone who's been watching this channel knows, generally speaking, I have a lot of trouble betting on or against Seattle. So you can fade my picks and usually make money, but I have a good feeling about this one and, a bad feeling for the Seahawks, unfortunately. So yeah, we're taking we're taking San Francisco minus 6.5. All right, now we got Atlanta at Denver. Denver's been pretty solid lately. They're pretty stifling on defense, and their offense just kind of does just enough to get some wins. Like they're 5-5. They're already better than I expected them to be this year. I was a hater, but I've been converted. So we are taking Denver minus 2.5. Now this is a line to me that is wrong. I'm going with it. Kansas City is getting points at Buffalo. Kansas City is undefeated. We're taking the undefeated boys plus 2.5. I don't care who the opponent is. If you get points and you're betting on Kansas City, you just take it. The NFL has a lot of WWE in it, you know, like when you're trying to beat the champs, you have to really beat the shit out of them to win. I think the refs collude with the league and make sure, like, does Kansas City deserve to be 9-0? I don't know. They won all the games. Buffalo, they're great. They're kind of like a buzzsaw. They'll smoke a lot of bad teams, but they don't have a lot of history of beating Kansas City much. So I'm just going to go with Kansas City plus the points. Seems like the obvious thing. All right. Then we got Cincinnati at the Chargers. Cincinnati has a crazy powerful offense, but their defense is, quite questionable. And the Chargers have been pretty solid all around. They're not going to blow your socks off on offense, generally speaking. Their defense is, fairly tight. So I think at home, I'm going to be taking the Chargers. I really like their combination of coach and quarterback. I like Cincinnati as well. I just think that their defense is too leaky to be reliable on the road. And Cincinnati's got a real tough road to the playoffs going forward here. All right, that's Sunday Night Football. And now we get Monday Night Football. We are getting Houston at Dallas. And Dallas is getting 7.5 points at home. Now, Dallas looked so bad last week. It is hard to imagine them covering even with these points, but the NFL changes from week to week so much. It feels like one of those things where everyone's going to be on Houston. I mean, Houston's kind of looking for a get-right game themselves. So this one's tough for me, but I will be taking Houston. Last week I hummed and hawed about it, and it turned out to be very easy. Take the opponent of Dallas. They're in the midst of imploding. Maybe everyone's getting fired. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going with Houston. I'm going with Houston minus 7.5. Let's put a number in the old number machine. Boom. That's it. Now, as for best bets, I'm going to go with Minnesota over Tennessee, Pittsburgh over Baltimore, San Francisco over Seattle, Kansas City over Buffalo, and Chargers over Cincinnati. That's my best 5. And my lock of the week, baby. You know it. It's Detroit. Defeats Jacksonville. Money line. You're not going to make a lot of money betting it because they're 12.5 point favorites. But that's my lock of the week. They've for the most part been just like this, and they've all failed. So definitely don't listen to me. All right. That's it. This has been Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. See you next week. Peace.